Alrighty. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today is September 14th, and if you're tuning in, you're watching the Select Committee on Tribal Relations. The first item on our agenda is to do a roll call. So if we could have staff do that for us, that would be great.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Senator Case.
Present.
Senator Anselmi Dalton.
Here.
Representative Blackburn. We see you there. I don't hear you, but we see you, Representative Blackburn. Representative Clifford, you just commented, is working on getting in. And Co-Chairman Larson.
Here.
And Co-Chairman Ellis.
Present. Alrighty. At this point on our agenda, we also wanted to welcome members of the tribal councils that are tuning in today and being part of our meeting. And Heather, I'm just looking at our participants and don't know if we've got anyone in the waiting room or if anyone's logged in yet. I don't see anyone.
I am checking with Carson to let those in the waiting room in. However, I also just received an email from let's see, from someone with the Northern Arapaho. They're looking for the link.
Okay.
So I'm just getting the link.
Heather, could you, I just got a note, could you send Travis McNiven the Zoom invite so that he can pass it on to Councilman Fast Horse?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly what I was doing when I was saying I received something on behalf of the council. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. And then I know Carson is here on without her video on. Are there any others in the waiting room, Carson?
So Cy Lee is in the waiting room as well as Julie Fries.
Okay. I think, well, there they are. Okay.
Good morning, Si.
You see Northern Arapaho. We'll admit them.
Morning, Chairman Ellis.
Good morning.
This is Cy.
Hi, Cy. It looks like we've got a Northern Arapaho Business Council on the screen. I'm just having a difficult time seeing who's there on my particular computer.
Good morning, Co-Chairperson Ellis, and good morning, Co-Chair Larson. This is Lee Spoonhunter, and also good morning, and also good morning to Representative Sweeney, Senator Case. Looks like Representative Blackburn. Good morning, and to everyone else. And also here with me in the chambers is our Chief Financial Officer, Ryan Ortiz. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. Thanks for being with us today.
Chairman Spoonhunter, we had a little hiccup here on getting some of the connects onto Zoom, and so we're going. I think Chairman Ellis is kind of waiting for some of the other councilmen to come on now that we've got them the right link. And then Heather, could we maybe reach out to the Shoshone Business Council and see if they're having troubles as well?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was in the process of grabbing their emails right now.
Are you
And I was
sending?
gonna,
Are you
yes,
sending Andy one too?
I beg your pardon?
I just got a note from Representative Clifford asking if you could resend her the invite as well.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Morning, Lee. Hey, there she is. Morning, Representative Clifford.
Good morning.
Sorry about the difficulties.
And for those just tuning in, we're just waiting a second longer to see if members of the Eastern Shoshone Business Council are getting logged in and making sure they've got all the right links. Good morning, Lee. Or Cy. And then
Morning, Chairman Ellis.
sorry, I just saw you pop up there. Good morning, Superintendent Shakespeare.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Superintendent Shakespeare. Thank you for joining us.
We're just waiting for a few more folks to log on before we begin. Thanks for being here. Just think I saw Councilwoman Snyder here.
Hi. Morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I had to unmute here. So it's myself and Councilman John St. Clair here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, everyone, I think we've got a good number of folks going on our meeting here today. So just want to thank all of you for making the time. We really appreciate it. And just wanted to let you know that we're very aware of how COVID has impacted the reservation. And so before we begin, we just want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that this pandemic has been particularly devastating for your community. And we want to be respectful of that. And so as the morning goes on, just know that our prayers are with you and we're thinking about you and wishing everyone well there. Today, we decided to meet online only out of respect for some of the tribal health orders that you've had. But looking at our agenda, the first item that we've got, before I begin, let me ask my co-chair, do you have any opening comments you'd like to make?
No, I just really appreciate, if I may, Madam Chairman, I just really appreciate the councils joining us and Superintendent Shakespeare joining us. This has been a difficult spring and summer on the Wind River Reservation, and we look forward to hearing on all aspects of how these events have impacted our citizens out there. Just appreciate all the good work that they've done and the enormous amount of time that they've put in preserving health and life on the reservation.
That sounds great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does anyone else from the committee have any comments they'd like to make before we begin? And then before we jump into our agenda item, I know my co-chair has co-chaired other hearings on Zoom. This is my first one. So just be patient with me. And if I'm not seeing your hand, just make sure that you speak up, unmute yourself. And I just don't want to overlook anyone. But now that I'm on the hosting side of it, I can see where it's a little difficult to follow some of the inner workings of how Zoom works for a meeting. The first item on our agenda is tribal and intertribal developments on the Wind River Reservation. And so at this time, I'd ask Eastern Shoshone, it looks like is first on our list, if they want to provide us with an update. Any reports, we want to know about your tribal priorities and just have a good understanding of how our committee can be of help. So with that, how about we hear from Council or Vice Chair Snyder from Eastern Shoshone and Mr. St. Clair and Councilman St. Clair.
Okay. Thank you, Effie, Senator Ellis and members of the Tribal Relations Committee. A couple of things, I guess, that we would like to address, and we would really like for help from the Tribal Relations Committee, is the fact we continue to have challenges, and with this pandemic, we really think it would be an opportune time to get our Riverton Medical District off the ground. Senator Eli Bebout had really gone to bat for us and to try to get that going. We are trying desperately. It's a great opportunity. It's a business opportunity for the Eastern Shoshone Tribe. And we would really like support from this committee. I know Senator Case and Representative Larson has not been publicly favorable, thinking it's a Lander and Riverton, and that's not the case, Riverton Lander issue, and that's truly not the case. The case is that we need better healthcare here in Fremont County, and we think this is a great opportunity to provide that. The intent was for it to be pandemic-specific hospital, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten the funding. So anything that the Tribal Relations Committee can help us with, that is a priority. That is a huge project for us. We need that because of our economic status right now, the decline in the oil and gas revenue. We need other enterprises and diversification to work for us. So that's kind of my pitch. I don't know if you were looking for something broader as far as what priorities for the Eastern Shoshone Tribe are, but that's one of the things that we think is really important that we bring to the table. Councilman St. Clair is going to talk just briefly about some of the other things that are of concern, have been on our radar, and hopefully we can get feedback from you all.
Okay, Councilman St. Clair, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. One of the issues that concerns the tribe came up in the General Council meeting last year, September 28th. And out of that concern, the tribe, the whole tribe in that meeting enacted a resolution in opposition to the Moneta Divide project. The resolution that came from that meeting is there was a motion to not support the BLM permitting the water quality standards that it did. That's already happened, I understand. And then the tribe recognizes that discharge permits from oil and gas operations will affect the water quality standards of the water that flows from those wells into alkali and Badwater creeks, then into the Boysen Reservoir and on down to the Wind River Canyon and ultimately to the city of Thermopolis. The tribe's concern is for its the quality of the water in the river. The tribe has, both tribes have regulated the fishing. There's fishing and other recreational purposes in that area. Not only that, the tribe does have a concern for the air quality that the approximately 4,250 wells that have been approved already will have on the air. It's according to the Wild City News in August 21st, there would be approximately 52 million gallons a day flowing into those creeks. Some piped, not flowing directly, there's also be some piped directly into the basin using a 48-inch diameter pipeline, and the total from both of those would be 2 million a day. The BLM accounts for only about 28% of the water flowing in, and the remaining 72 is apparently going to be left up to the state. So we're voicing our concerns because the state will have some say about that water quality. The other concern we have is for our Indigenous women who will be affected if there's a influx of workers coming into the area, and man camps or whatever, however they stay, will increase the number of males usually that work in these areas. And our concern is for our women. That was the issue I was going to talk about. Do you have any more?
No, I would just say thank you, Councilman St. Clair, and I would just say broadly to the committee, I don't mean to start on a controversial note. I just really want to express the support that we have had for the Riverton Medical District. And if this committee can help, let's have that dialogue. We're very open to do that. The other concern broadly that I would just talk about is the loss of revenue that we've experienced here at Wind River. It's we're in a tough position. Without the COVID funds, we would have a very difficult time even maintaining the level of services and tribal government that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Snyder. Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I might just, for clarification purposes, ask a couple of questions, maybe first to Co-Chairman Snyder or Vice Chairman Snyder on that. And Karen, on the medical district, I think the question, if you could provide us with a little more clarification, I think the question was, should there be a use of the CARES Act money, the federal CARES Act money coming into the state to build a hospital in Riverton and so if you'll just clarify that, not necessarily creating a hospital district, that can be done without any legislative approval or dialogue, that can be done, but establishment and funding of an additional hospital. So if you just clarify that to make sure we understand that. And then Councilman St. Clair, if I could ask you also to please clarify your position on the Moneta Divide project. My understanding originally was on the water permit, and rightfully so, was that the ability on the limits that going into Boyson was going to be solely given to the producer at Moneta Divide. And we heard from those producing wells on the reservation, which is administered by the EPA, that in doing so, it would prevent them from doing any type of expansion and keeping the quality of Boyson and the river downstream of the dam intact. And so with the states in the approval of the water project, I believe was back to the state, not to the BLM, but in doing so, I thought the majority of the opposition of the tribe was because it really had the potential of hamstringing future development of resources on the reservation. So if you'd clarify that for me, because I heard you say that it was more for the protection of the waters that are impacted on the reservation, particularly downstream of the dam. So and then I would just share that the state has come out with a permit that goes in and has reduced the amount of constituents that can go into Boyson, and it allows for expansion for those producers on the reservation that would impact your revenue streams. So if you could just kind of tie that together, make sure that I haven't misunderstood some of the discussion that's going on that. So maybe first to you, Vice Chair Snyder, if you could just clarify the discussion on the hospital, and then maybe Councilman St. Clair can clarify his points as well, if that's all right, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Snyder.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for that question, Representative Larson. And so from the tribe's position, it has always been, and I understand the concern about should the Riverton Medical District be built with this COVID funding. Our views and the presentation that we always put on the table was that it would be a state-of-the-art hospital, and it would be ready, it would be pandemic ready. I mean, as you know, in Fremont County, the cases continue to grow. I still think it's a very viable question. I don't know if the opportunity for the funding from the SLIB is no longer available, so we may have missed that opportunity. I did try to get on a couple of those calls, but I'm just going to state, again, we are not happy with the healthcare from Sage West. I've talked, Representative Larson and I have talked about this numerous times. I just feel like we have inadequate healthcare from that level. There's horror stories, and we don't need to get into that right now, but I definitely think that's a conversation. If we, the residents of Wind River, don't feel like our healthcare, our hospital care is adequate, then let's have the conversation with the appropriate people. And I'll turn it over to Councilman St. Clair.
Thank you for your question, Representative Larson. The EPA is going to have some meetings with us regarding our development on the reservation, and that part we're not so concerned as to what's happening with the input of the wastewater into Boyson. I think that's our number one priority. And I wasn't present at the meeting last year at the General Council meeting to hear all the discussion. But what come out of the meeting was that resolution I referred to, and that seems to concentrate on the flow of wastewater into Boyson, and the concerns that the tribe has for their projects in the canyon, and the quality of the water outside of those projects. So I guess my answer is that our number one priority in this this time for this project is the flow of water into Boyson.
Any follow-up questions? Questions from other members of the committee? Oh, Representative Clifford?
Thank you. Itatinaku Sech Sant Bechu. Good morning. Thank you all tribal leaders, Vice Chair Snyder and Council Member St. Clair for your comments. I just am thankful that you guys are pushing the priority on the medical health district as far as healthcare goes for our people from the reservation and the health disparities that we have pre-pandemic, the obesity issues, the cancer, the heart problems, and of course this COVID is attacking people with those underlying health conditions. And I hear you loud and clear as far as a priority and of this Tribal Relations Committee to listen and to hear your priorities. There are your priorities, and that the Riverton Medical District, according to what I know, is SLIB denied that because funds weren't going to be expended by December 30th for the CARES Act. But my understanding in talking with the Riverton Medical District people is that, it was a good project that was shovel ready. Probably according to what I heard and what I saw, it was the project I feel that was the most shovel ready as far as being able to expend the CARES Act. And I'm always one in all these phone calls and in meetings I've been to in Zoom. I think that's what the CARES funding was for. And it was good for our Indigenous people and the tribes here to try to help capitalize on that. And so I just want to commend you, Vice Chair Snyder, for sticking your neck out and pushing for this. And I think there's still more that we could do as a committee here, sitting on tribal relations, to address good quality health care for our people. And so thank you for that. And Councilman St. Clair, thank you for bringing up and letting the committee know about the opposition to the Menida Divide. That one's very important too. And it was disturbing because the elements, when it was in the public comment for the Menida gas and oil field, I had pushed for it and was happy to see the training in the police during boom time workers of what you brought up. And it's to protect our vulnerable Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone women from the boom town. And I hear you loud and clear, Councilman St. Clair, but it was disheartening to find that those were dropped from the final plan. Those were dropped. And so that's a concern. And this committee, pushing forward, the Missing Murdered Indigenous Persons Bill, I think we need to take that to heart. And that's important too. And also just water quality, that's always been important. And it was disheartening to find during the session that some back deals to the water quality and pushing that Moneta Divide. We just feel that, as a tribal member from the reservation, just felt like we weren't heard. But I'm glad for this resolution. I stand strong with you guys. I'll do my part of what I can to push those issues forward. So I guess that's, wouldn't you agree, Vice Snyder and Councilman St. Clair?
Councilwoman Snyder?
I'm sorry, we're sharing a laptop. Yes, we absolutely would. And thank you for those comments, Representative Clifford. We agree. We were really happy when the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Task Force, came to fruition. We want to see that progress. It feels like, and I know this, it's been because of COVID that we've kind of had a stall in some of the progress, but I think we need to move that forward. And if we can get resources, we're never going to be able to battle or to overcome the amount of economic stimulus that this Moneta divide. We'll never win that argument, but if we can get resources and education on the ground here through like our Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Task Force, in those kind of avenues, that may be our only option, is to try to give some education as to what this means. It concerns me also. I mean, I think I could make the argument also is with the influx of individuals from these man camps, how are we going to address their healthcare needs? I mean, that's a lot of people that are going to come into our community, and there's going to be an overflow on our healthcare systems. I've seen what had happened in North Dakota. So again, I agree with, and I thank Representative Clifford for her comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Would any member of the committee like to ask a question? Representative Larson?
No, I would just suggest to the committee that, as we talked about the Moneta divide stuff, that operator has laid off all but 4 employees, and there's no vast expansion and development of that resource because of the 13 years that it took to get this process in place. They missed the market, so there's not going to be an influx of workers coming to drill a massive quantity of wells. That permitting of the 4,000 wells was spread over the lifetime of the project, not to be completed in 3 or 4 years. So I think it's just important to make sure that we put it into perspective and make sure that we're not maybe misunderstanding or the facts that are on the ground right now. I think they only have 4 or 5 employees left, and we don't know how long they'll be around.
Ready? Any other questions from committee members? And, you know, we do have more items on our agenda. So if something comes up as we're discussing, I know both council members, I think you're going to be part of our discussion all morning. So maybe with that, we'll move to the Northern Arapaho. And this is just a chance for us to understand any projects or your tribal priorities and just listen to you. So with that, I'd like to hear from Chairman Spoonhunter there in the Northern Arapaho office.
So, Madam Chairman, this is Councilman St. Clair.
Sorry, hold on that, Councilman St. Clair, please.
Yeah, I just want to make a final statement about Moneta divide, that the Business Council is beneath the Shoshone General Council, so we're committed to this position. And so we'll continue to work and advocate for the position that's in the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman St. Clair. Alrighty, Chairman Spoonhunter, if you unmute, and we're all ears and ready to listen.
Thank you, Chairman Larson. Good morning, Neocket. Chairman Larson and Chairman Ellis, and also Representative Andy Clifford, who is our proud enrolled member of our tribe. We're very proud of her. And the members of the committee. I have the honor of serving as chairman of the Northern Arapaho Business Council this term, the governmental body of the Northern Arapaho tribe. I would like to thank the members of this committee for allowing me to provide comments on behalf of the Northern Arapaho tribe at this time. First, I want to acknowledge and thank the committee for their hard work and support during the legislators 2020 budget session. I would like to mention just a few of your efforts and express our appreciation. Passage of the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Persons Senate File 0008 and House Joint Resolution 003. House Bill 26, Tribal ID for voting. House Bill 171 established the Wyoming Gaming Commission. We are also pleased to see Governor Gordon appoint a Jenna Wildcat to the Gaming Commission. House passed Bill 212, which recognized the importance of government-to-government communication by making the Select Committee on Tribal Relations the statutory committee of the Wyoming State Legislature. We also want to talk a little bit about the First Lady's Wyoming Hunger Initiative and Food Bank of the Rockies. Food insecurity is very real and a daily struggle among our people. The social and economic impacts of the coronavirus have made what is already a daily struggle a serious challenge. It is with great appreciation I'm able to share with you the collaboration we have had with the Food Bank of the Rockies and First Ladies Wyoming Hunger Initiative. It has been an unquestionable success so far. Not only is it a blessing to the Northern Arapaho and our Eastern Shoshone people, but individuals who come to the food bank locations as far away from as Rollins, the Bighorn Basin, and all around Fremont County. We want to talk a little bit today about the economic impact and how on tribal-owned businesses. As you know, the oil and gas recession is negatively impacting the tribe, as royalties received from producers on reservation have significantly declined. We as a tribe, we depend on the oil and gas revenues for our daily operation. Our Wind River Casino, over 5 months of closure, we have reopened the Wind River Casino and tribal program offices. However, at best, the casino is expected to generate only half of its pre-pandemic revenue due to the decreased capacity of customers allowed in the casino. The closure of tribal businesses has resulted in a very significant loss of operating revenue for the tribe also. I want to talk a little bit today on the 17-mile transfer station, and I know tomorrow we will have talks on solid waste. As part of the Bureau of Indian Affairs COVID-19 response funding, the Northern Arapaho Tribe has applied for and received over $150,000 to clean up and open the 72-mile transfer station. Our plan is to clean the entry to the station, redesign it, and use some of our infrastructure dollars we procured in previous grants to operate it. We raise the issue as we need to determine any necessary agreements or details with the EPA, the state, and the county. Thus far, the BIA, and particularly the local BIA, have really helped push for this action. Next, we are proud to talk about the Northern Arapaho Propane Company that was recently started and put into operation. For the Tribal Regulations Committee's awareness, the Northern Arapaho Tribe is starting our own propane company. Again, the name of the company, Northern Arapaho Tribal Propane, we have procured with our own non-COVID related funds the following assets: 2 30,000 storage tanks, 2 bobtails, 1 used and 1 new, a crane truck to set tanks, and 28 business and residential propane tanks, 4 1,000-gallon tanks, and 24 500-gallon tanks. The workers have trained and are certified to drive the trucks and set the tanks properly and safely. The goal of the company is to provide fuel at a reasonable cost to first our tribal members, our tribal businesses, departments, and second to the general communities. I just want to thank you for your time today, be able to give an update and progress on the tribe, and I look forward to any questions you all might have. Thank you.
Alrighty, questions from committee members? Co-Chairman Larson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairman Spoonhunter, that's interesting on your propane company. Is it up and running now? And if so, when did you start delivering gas?
Chairman Spoonhunter?
Yes, Chairman Larson, to answer that question, we are up and running about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we started delivering tanks and filling tanks at residents and businesses here on the reservation.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh. Senator Anselmi Dalton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Spoonhunter, I'm not sure who the person is, and maybe I should have spoken with Representative Clifford or something to ask this question. And the COVID funding, the mitigation funding ends tomorrow. And I just wanted to mention that at my hotel, and maybe for the hotel on the reservation, there's some products that you could put in for, you'd have to buy them today or tomorrow, obviously, and you'd have to be quick on your feet, but they have a nanoseptic, something to nanoseptic door wraps or bar wraps for where you push the doors open, or your guest room ones. And they're not outrageously expensive. They also have some key cleaning UV products for guests, because when they turn in the keys for us, we're cleaning it right now with disinfectant, and it takes a bit of time. So if you know someone to put in contact with me, I'd be happy to refer them to my contact at Uniguest. He's very helpful and quick on his feet. And I just thought maybe that would be helpful to you all there, because it's something I'm going to try to do just so people feel a little more safe when they open the doors coming into our hotels and go to the guest room doors. I'm going to buy these, and it's not a big, huge expense. So if you have someone to refer me from the hotel, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you for the, Dalton. We really appreciate that. We will be getting you in contact with our CEO, Brian Van Eckenvoort, who runs the hotel for us.
Any other questions from committee members? I have a couple of questions about the reopening. You said the Wind River Casino was closed for 5 months, and just curious when you reopened, and if that includes reopening your restaurant and your hotel, and just any more information you can share on that, I'd be curious to know.
Thank you for the question, Chairman Ellis. So we reopened the casino floor and also the restaurants. We've opened Red Willow, Janiku at the big casino. Also, the hotel has gone through 2 deep cleanings, and there was a period of time that there was no occupancy there, so that it could be thoroughly cleaned and vented. And so that opened also. And then also our property at Ethity opened the casino floor there, and also the Morningstar restaurant. We've also worked hand in hand with National Indian Gaming and also with our gaming agency to ensure that we have everything in place to help provide safety to the customers that are coming into our casinos, restaurants, and hotels.
Just to follow up, are you requiring your patrons to wear masks when they use your facility?
Chairwoman Ellis, yes, we do, so that everyone that comes into our businesses has to wear a mask, and they are provided gloves if they want gloves as they gamble and go into the restaurants. Also, we have screeners at our properties that will take temperatures and ask health questions to make sure that that people enter and don't have fever or haven't been exposed to somebody who's tested positive for coronavirus. So we're taking those measures also. And then also our casino closes every night. Both casinos close at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. to deep clean and to provide to just provide the necessary cleaning to provide safety to the patrons.
And one last question. Did you have any difficulty receiving funds from the federal from the CARES Act?
We didn't. We are very thankful for the letter that you and Co-Chair Larson has sent on our behalf, and also working with U.S. Representative Liz Cheney to ensure that money came to the tribes. And we were very thankful to all the help with our Wyoming legislators and also leaders, and also on the national level, our Wyoming leaders, congressional delegation to help us to secure this funding.
I'm glad you have the difficulty some other tribes I know did. Do any other committee members have any questions? Hear something? Don't see anything. Okay, well, thank you so much for that presentation, and we'll keep moving on our agenda. Next up, we have reports from state tribal liaisons. And so first, I'd like to ask Lee Tendor, who's the Eastern Shoshone's tribal liaison, to give us an update. I don't know if you're frozen there, Lee. I don't hear you.
Chairman Ellis?
Mr. Lee?
I've been working with Mr. Tendor here, getting ready. This is his first legislative committee meeting. And so we've been working sort of through the process of time constraints and whatnot. So if it pleases the committee, what I would like to do is sort of do this in tandem and alternate our efforts here so that we can really get through these reports here. We've actually have sort of some topics that we worked on together and individually. So if it pleases the committee, what I'd like to do is actually alternate with Mr. Tendor so we could help him get through his first time here.
That sounds fine, Sai. I appreciate that. And if I turn off my video screen, just know I've got my volume up really loud, but I'm a huge coffee drinker in the morning, so I'm going to step away and grab a cup of coffee, but I can hear everything you're saying. So with that, please continue.
Okay, so Chairman Ellis and Co-Chair Larson, members of the committee, hopefully Mr. Tendor has his video set up and we're ready to go here. But what I'd like to do is start here with a topic here, the state budget and the Windward Reservation. As you all know, it's a very difficult time ahead for all of us at all levels of government and throughout Wyoming. The reservation is no exception, as you heard from the reports from the elected leadership. In terms of the governor's office, Governor Gordon has established and maintained communication with the tribal leaders from each tribe and helped to inform them of the difficult task at hand. Calls have been made, letters have been sent, and each tribal council has engaged in a response to the governor's request for comment on budget matters. And so with that being said, we are happy to report a level of communication has been reached that we hope to build on for better days ahead. Similar communication came along the same lines with the COVID response, and we'll talk a little bit later on in this report about other communications that are happening regularly. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Tendor if he's ready.
Can you hear us, Lee?
Yes, I can.
Okay, it's yours.
Can you hear me fine?
We heard you a little bit there, Lee, but then you kind of faded off. Can you maybe try that again? And on the screen, we can see your face, but we're not seeing any movement. So I don't know if it's just, if we've got technical difficulties or what.
Lee?
Okay,
I still don't hear anything. I would try, sometimes it takes a little bit more bandwidth to get the video to work rather than just the audio. Maybe stop your video and see if you can speak, and if that maybe speeds up your audio a little bit. Lee, we still don't hear you.
how about
Okay. And Lee, we're still not hearing you. If you're talking, we don't hear you.
okay? How about now? I stop the video.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Madam Chair.
There you go.
So contract protocols, as we know, there are several contracts with tribal governments that provide services and support our social programs. We are working to better the lines of communication and further institutionalize the relationship between the state agencies, tribal programs, and
Lee, we lost you again. Sai, would you continue with your presentation? And if we can get Lee back on, I don't know how to resolve that issue. Heather, before you begin, Sai, Heather, do you have any thoughts of how we can help Lee out?
Madam Chair, I am trying to manually from our side click to unmute him, but it's not seeming to work at this point. So I continue to try to do things behind the scenes, see if they work.
Okay. Sai, do you want to continue, please?
Yeah, Chairman Ellis and members of the committee, thank you. I will, if you'd like, I could finish on that comment about contract protocols. It is something we are both working on. And then we'll get back to Mr. Tendor. The contract protocols, what we're looking for is to redefine the process for the benefit of our future elected and appointed officials by putting protocols in place that are made available to tribal leadership and all that are involved to help further institutionalize the relationship between the state agencies and tribal programs. It was an effort that was made previously, but trying to do one protocol matter across the board for every program just isn't going to work. So these contract protocols are going to be specific to the state agencies. And then we'll share that information as we're working through it. Again, it's a work in progress. So we do anticipate really a high rate of return as we finalize these documents in the future. We'll also welcome input. So as we work through these protocols and we get towards the end, we will be sharing them with members of the committee, and we'll be looking for some input and trying to just better the relationships overall. Next, the full-time status for the two of us, myself and Mr. Tendor, both tribal liaisons are now serving on a full-time status as of July 1st, 2020. Each of us has signed our contracts with the effective date of the state's fiscal year, July 1. We both have knowledge of our separate forms of traditional tribal government, and we're both fortunate to have well-established relationships, positive relationships with our elected leaders from both tribal councils. So thus far, it's been really positive. It's been great, and I hope that Mr. Tendor is able to get his technical difficulties straightened out here so we can work through this. Next, this was one that Mr. Tendor had was going to present, but I'll go ahead and present this just for the sake of time so we can get through this portion of the meeting. Meetings and internal communications from the two of us, myself and Mr. Tendor. We meet with the governor's policy advisors on, we're part of the meetings regularly, and other staff members. On a weekly basis, we meet with a policy advisor assigned to us in our tribal relations, Emily Solai. In addition to that, we are meeting directly with Governor Gordon on a monthly basis over a lunch. That is ongoing. And so we're able to keep Governor Gordon abreast of issues as we're doing here today. Both tribal liaisons are, doing the best we can to maintain a high level of communication through phone calls, Zoom, and Google Hangouts, much like you all are. As difficult as it may be, it's something that we're both working on. Also, with the Northern Arapaho Tribe specifically, and the company Wind River Internet, which is wholly owned by the tribe, managed by Northern Arapaho Tribal Industries. I am pleased to announce the award of $6.7 million to this effort to be an internet service provider. The connectivity and broadband services here on the reservation will be built out. And we've had the great pleasure of working with the team that the governor has put together, led by Mr. Rob Krieger. Wind River Internet's really become a leader in connectivity and service, providing really good upload and download speeds. for the entire community, really Fremont County in general, but specifically the reservation. Wind River Internet, as you all know, is a for-profit company of the tribe, similar to the tribe's propane company that you just heard about. And so as it's becoming an asset in terms of workforce development and employment opportunity, this funding is a huge boost to finishing that project, providing redundant connectivity around the reservation, also connectivity for homes and the schools and the businesses. The award, of course, comes with the caveat of the CARES Act and Treasury Department guidelines. So the contracts were finalized with the AG's office last week. And Wind River Internet will continue to build out the fiber network with reliability and redundancy. And the real competitive advantage that Wind River Internet has, specifically in terms of being an internet service provider, is they are a real local service, a real grassroots company that really lives and works here on the reservation. So that was something that I'm very pleased to announce. Also, I also wanted to echo some of the sentiments that were made earlier by the elected leadership regarding the letter and the support that allowed for the two tribes to be considered independently of the CARES Act funding. And there's also been continued discussions about the tobacco tax compact. We haven't necessarily gotten to the bottom of that yet. A term sheet was shared amongst the tribal leadership. We've taken some feedback, but as soon as a decision is rendered by the two tribes or a tribe independently, we'll make sure that members of the committee are aware of that. With that, Chairman Ellis, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Cy. And then Lee, I see you're back on my screen. Are you able to, let's just test it out and see if you're able to use the Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Fine.
I can hear you. Cy just finished his presentation, but I didn't know if you were able to hear any of it or if there's anything you wanted to add that was specific to Eastern District.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if you heard the last portion of the where I left off from.
Go ahead. Actually, let's just go ahead, Lee. Let's just hear from you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, rest of the committee. So in the meetings and internal communications, the two of us, both tribal liaisons, are meeting with governor's policy advisors, other staff members as needed on a weekly basis. In addition to that, we are meeting directly with the Governor Gordon himself, monthly basis, to keep abreast of the issues as well. And we are going here today with both tribal liaisons and doing the best we can to maintain communications through phone calls, Zoom, and Google Hangouts as much as possible with the communication with our internet. The internet is very challenging and for us right now. I hope that went through.
Thank you, Lee. Lee, Lee, I think maybe some of the difficulty is if you are trying to watch the YouTube and testify at the same time, it doesn't work as well. You need to turn off the YouTube. And I've in other meetings, I believe that works a little bit better.
Straightened out here so we can work.
Okay. Well, with that committee, do any of the committee members have any questions for either Cy or Lee? Okay. Seeing none, I just want to acknowledge, I know on the Senate side, Senator Case has been a very strong advocate for the Tribal Liaison Program, and glad to hear that you both are on board and making it work during these difficult times. So thank you for your reports. With that, we've got
Madam Chairman.
Oh, Councilwoman or Vice Chair Snyder.
Yes, I just want to jump in here really quick, and I'd like to extend our appreciation for the support that Cy Lee has extended, and it's really unfortunate that we can't hear from our liaison Tindor. I think he's really jumped in with both feet, but I really do appreciate the support lended to him to be successful in this capacity. I think we've grown in leaps and bounds as far as having a good working relationship with the governor, and it's because of the efforts of the two liaisons. And just to kind of echo what Liaison Lee talked about as far as Wind River Internet, we're really fortunate to have that enterprise in our community. It's been an advantage to the Eastern Shoshone tribe as well. And we're hoping to have a better working relationship with Mr. Lawson at Wind River Internet, because we truly do need internet capacity reservation wide. And unfortunately, the Eastern Shoshone tribe was not ready for this pandemic. We don't have a partner like Wind River Internet. And so we're going to utilize those services. It's not a competition. Our goal and objective is to make sure that we get the best internet capacity here. So just wanted to add those comments, but we appreciate you, Cy, for helping. And I do know that we've talked specifically with Liaison Tindor. The tobacco tax was one of them. We didn't really know what the offer was going to be. We've read the agreement. And we didn't really get to talk about our CARES funding. We appreciate the efforts as well. Getting the CARES funding directly. Our question was about, obligation of the funds, but just also support to the committee for helping us in that endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We are now at the point on the agenda to take public comment. Is there anybody? I don't see anyone waiting to get in our meeting on the Zoom, but if anyone that's already admitted has a comment they'd like to make, just let me know, raise your hand, and I can just put it in front of your face so I can see. Okay, I don't see any hands. So let's move on to the next topic on our agenda, which is COVID-19 pandemic effects and update. First on our agenda, we'll have the Northern Arapaho Business Council and the Eastern Shoshone Business Council talk about impacts. We want to hear about the numbers of cases and fatalities, a little bit more about CARES Act funding, about how it's helped mitigate some impacts, and then going forward on the agenda. So with that, last time we started with the Eastern Shoshone, so this time let's start with Northern Arapaho. If you would provide us with an update, we would certainly appreciate it. And again, our condolences for the difficulty that your community has gone through. And please know, as I've been reading about it, just been thinking about all of you and knowing how close-knit your community is, and each loss, I'm sure, is devastating for many. So thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you, Chairman Ellis. The Northern Arapaho tribe has aggressively responded to the threat of COVID-19. Although the virus has not subsided, the tribe's protective measures have slowed the spread and allowed the tribe to relax some of its stringent measures that were enacted last spring, including lifting the reservation's reservation-wide stay-at-home order and curfew in some areas. As previously mentioned, the tribe has reopened the Wind River Hotel and Casino and is reopening the tribal program offices. The coronavirus has resulted in significant losses to both life and economic viability for our tribal members. Here are some of our latest COVID numbers. The Wind River CARES has conducted, Wind River CARES Clinic has conducted 15,918 total tests, which 4.8% have been positive. We have confirmed with our medical team that we have done 15% of the total testing in Wyoming. There have been 426 positive cases, 401 recovered cases, 11 active cases, and unfortunately, 14 deaths have occurred among our tribal members. On one positive note, the week of September 7th, last week, was the first week that we only had a single confirmed new case. Also, we continue to provide the isolation camp for the reservation, and it is down at the Northern Arapaho Powwow Grounds. Again, we have 11 positive or exposed to positive tribal members down there at the camp that are receiving medical services from Wind River CARES on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. And also our Red River Hotel and Casino provides meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner to them. And also our White Buffalo Recovery Services also provides recovery services for the transient population that goes there. And we hope to help them to move on to sobriety. Chairman Ellis and Chairman Larson, I'm going to turn the Federal CARES Act funding update to you, that the money that we received directly from the federal government to the CFO, Ryan Ortiz, right now. So I'll defer to him.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee, thank you for your time, for everything that you do for us. And so the Arapahoe Tribe received just over $26 million of Federal CARES Act from the Coronavirus Relief Fund. And probably, as you know, it's very restrictive to the Treasury guidance. And because of that, the Business Council passed a budget that spends this money within those Treasury guidelines. The tribes, as you know, don't collect taxes from tribal members, and our revenue generating entities and operatings are operating at a reduced capacity due to the pandemic. It's severely straining and the tribe's ability to provide governmental services for the tribal members. So because of that, we've expended about $12 million to address public health concerns and related issues. We've transferred over $1 million to our other tribal governments to help with their operations and things that they're doing. And the numbers due to the pandemic, only increase our needs and things that we have to do, to help our communities, through these difficult times. There's a lot of other small things that we've done that have helped, that are really significant in helping the prevention of the spread of COVID. Things such as buying medical trailers dedicated specifically for our clinics to help with with their efforts. We've redesigned a lot of our entryways and created a lot of preventive measures at all of our departments so that we could reopening using plexiglass and speakers and things where direct contact isn't available or doesn't take place anymore between people. We've purchased a lot of equipment to help with the prevent of and the spread of COVID and PPE type of things. So we've done a lot of money, or we spent a lot of money and done a lot of good things to help with the prevention of the spread of COVID. That's reflective in the numbers that we've had. I think back in sometime in June, the highest we had in 1 week was 35 cases. And as you know, we were hoping last week that it was our first with 0 new cases, but 1 is an excellent number when you compare it to 35. So the tribe's done a lot of good work, done a lot of spread the word of how to protect ourselves, and we're doing a lot of other larger projects that are in the works that will happen. One in particular is based on water. So we procured through our BIA contract a potable water truck, so we can help with cisterns. We also got 13 cisterns that we'll be putting in at people's homes who currently don't have water. We're going to institute 2 public water filling stations on both of our water systems in the Arapahoe and Ecotee community. So those who already are hauling water for themselves will be able to do that. And we're doing a complete water and wastewater assessment on our system so that we can maintain good working facilities for tribal members. And that's that's what we have for Federal CARES Act funding. And happy to take any questions from anybody before I turn it back over to Chairman Spoonhunter regarding the state CARES Act monies.
Okay, questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none, please continue.
Okay, so thank you for that, Ryan. And for our state CARES Act funding update, first of all, I want to begin by expressing our gratitude for the working relationship we have had with the governor and the legislature during this crisis. I appreciate the regular calls that we've had with Governor Gordon and his staff. In particular, I wish to express my sincere appreciation for Chairman Ellis and Chairman Larson and members of this committee for your leadership during the special legislative session. It is because of Ellis and Larson amendments to House Bill 1001 Emergency Appropriation COVID-19 funds that we are able to have this discussion about state CARES Act funding today. Again, I thank you for your leadership. The Northern Apple Business Council and our staff have been working with the State Loan and Investment Board on coronavirus relief grant applications. One of the conditions of the grants is we must first allocate our own federal CARES Act funding. Recently, the State Loan and Investment Board adopted an allocation model for funding. $10 million was allocated to both tribes based upon population. We fully support the allocation model passed by the State Loan and Investment Board and thank them for their diligent efforts to disperse funding in a timely fashion. We are currently in the process of reprioritizing our grant applications to align with the allocation budget and look forward to working with the State Loan and Investment Board staff to advance our application. An example of how we hope to use state allocated CARES Act funding is to help remodel our Arapahoe clinic. We have plans to redesign the entryway so that we can assess regular medical issues and COVID issues in a prudent way to keep everyone safe. Similar to Governor Gordon's emphasis on our local food security with the meat processing expansion grant program, the Northern Apple Business Council also wants to provide high quality protein to our members. We hope to use funds to contract a mobile slaughter unit so we can use the Arapahoe Ranch to provide beef that will be given to tribal members. We plan to create something similar to the CWC unit and then bring the beef back to cut, wrap, and distribute. Again, like tribal liaison Cy Lee had mentioned, even though it's not related to Northern Apple Business Council, I do want to highlight that the Wind River Internet did receive a $6 million grant to expand broadband connectivity. This grant was one of 37 approved projects across the state developed as part of a broadband expansion initiative in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The goal of this initiative is to provide internet access to areas where there's no or little broadband availability. We thank Governor Gordon, the legislator, and the Wyoming Business Council for their support of the Wind River Internet project. We are hopeful that this will aid in greater internet service to tribal members in the future, assist with distance learning, telehealth, general economic activity on the Wind River Reservation. One challenge Wind River Internet has is how much of the work they will be able to get accomplished before the end of the year. As the Northern Apple tribe, here are some of the plans going into the fall. One issue is that we would like to raise going into the fall involves the schools outside of the Wind River Reservation. As the committee knows, schools on the reservation are currently using distance learning. However, schools in Riverton and Lander are educating students in person. We understand that they are taking the best precautions they can, but this gives rise to a public health issue where any outbreak of students or staff who live on the reservation and attend school in Lander or Riverton may be handed off to the Wind River Care Clinic. Again, we are not questioning these decisions. These are schools making their safety protocols. We are simply inquiring if additional support from the school districts may be available to assist Wind River Cares Clinic when they are treating such cases. Housing and isolation challenges that are faced by the tribe. Earlier this year, we met via Zoom with Vice Admiral Jerome Adams, the U.S. Surgeon General. During that call, we expressed how COVID-19 has laid bare the housing shortage in tribal communities. The lack of housing has created a significant transient population within the community. Too often, 2 to 3 families will live in a single house. Usually there are multi-generational family situations. These housing circumstances present a problem as transmission of the COVID virus is much higher in these living conditions. To assist with the housing shortage during quarantine, we utilized then the closed River Hotel and Casino as isolation for tribal members that was closed and then reopened to the public. We then placed 8 trailers, again, as I talked earlier about, capable of housing 32 people at the Arapahoe Powell Grounds. Those individuals quarantined at the Powell Grounds are provided for by the casino and by Winter Cares. In addition to additional challenges that remain for the Northern Arapahoe, one challenge we continue to wrestle with is how to address situations where a non-tribal member is living or working on the reservation. Short story of a pastor's wife leaving and returning to the reservation. We fully recognize and respect we have no jurisdiction to oppose tribal orders on non-tribal members. We are wrestling with how do we seek to better collaboration and communication when actions by non-tribal members may have direct and indirect public health consequences concerning COVID-19. Again, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on the Northern Arapahoe Tribe. I look forward to answering any questions you may have, and thank you for your service to Indian Country.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Questions from the committee? Co-Chairman Larson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Spoonhunter, if you would be kind enough to share with us your stats on the number of tests and stuff that you related, if you could send them to LSO and let, those are very interesting numbers. I know that you led this, we've seen a large number of cases on the reservation. That's because you guys were testing, the rest of the state wasn't. And appreciate your leading the way in the state on that. I wanted to ask a question, Madam Chairman, to Chairman Spoonhunter regarding the temporary housing. You indicated that you had some of the mobile facilities at the parade grounds and that you used the casino to take care of that. I'm interested to know if you know how many, if you can give us a number of how many people you had to temporarily house during this time. And now that you've opened the casino back up, where are those people? Are they still housed at the casino, or have they returned to their residences? And then just follow that conversation down as you talked about the need for housing, and because we fully agree, and this committee has looked at your housing in the past and recognized the needs for additional housing, but again, remind us of how you see that being. Are you able to make some increases in housing available moving forward with any of the funds that you've received?
Chairman Spoonhunter?
Okay, thank you, Chairman Larson, for those questions. Chairman Larson and Chairman Ellis, we will get the numbers emailed to you, to the committee that Chairman Larson has asked for, the statistics there. So we closed the isolation at the Winter Hotel and Casino, Chairman Larson, in August in order for us to deep clean and allow the casino hotel to be ready for public use again. And all of our tribal people that were there were transferred to the isolation camp at the Northern Arapahoe Powell Grounds. We have funding to operate that until October. And then we will have to try to seek other resources to keep that going, because we have a lot of tribal members who depend on that, having nowhere to go. If someone comes up positive and there's 13 people in their house, then that really helps them to go down to the isolation camp so that the other family members in their family don't get the spread of the virus. Also, we will have to get with our medical team at the River Clinic to get you the statistics on how many tribal people have used the isolation camp. Right now, I don't have those numbers on here today, but we can get that email to the Tribal Select Committee. I hope I've answered your questions today, Chairman Larson.
Thank you, Chairman
Follow-up?
Spooner, and thank you,
Larson?
Madam Chairman. Maybe one follow-up, if I may, and that is as we look forward going into the fall, we've heard concerns about the possibility of a resurgence. You've got funding available to take care of your camp there till October. It sounds to me like you have plans in place or are working for extended ability to divert people if necessary. Is that a fair assumption?
It is, Representative Larson. So also what the tribe has done is in Riverton, remember the old Days Inn property that is there in Riverton. The tribe has purchased that property, and we are hoping for that to be a permanent shelter and also isolation for our tribal members going in until they find a vaccine for this. And then, so our tribal members will be able to go there to that property that we are working to get up to the standards, the city standards that we need to, working closely with the city of Riverton, so that property there, the Old Days Inn Hotel, will be the isolation and transient shelter for our tribal members.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Representative Sweeney?
Sorry, Madam Chairman. I had a question in regards to the mitigation CARES Act funds. If Chairman Spoonhunter had applied for the mitigation funds through the state, because I think the co-chairs through the legislative effort with the CARES Act funding made that possible. But in direct regards to the isolation camp, I think that's perfectly appropriate use of those mitigation funds in that last portion, which I think the application is still open, but I'm just wondering if those funds had been applied for.
Chairman Spoonhunter?
Yes, thank you, Representative Sweeney. We haven't really had the opportunity yet to look into those funds, the mitigation funds that you're talking about. But again, we'll look into those. We thank you for that comment today. Again, our goal here is to take the isolation camp at the Pal Grounds and move everyone over to the old Days Inn property there. So we will look into that. Thank you, Representative Sweeney.
Okay. Other questions from the committee? Representative Clifford?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Spoonhunter, I just want to thank you for your leadership in addressing the pandemic. Thank you for the stats, and thank you for always answering my questions and my texts and messages that I send you, because this has been a trying time for people of Wind River. What could you share with the committee? I know at the beginning of the pandemic, you had drive-through testing and that, and we may get into it a little bit. But what is your plan for testing now? How does that work? Are you able to share that with us, your testing protocol and procedures right now?
Chairman Spoonhunter?
Yes, thank you, Representative Clifford. So in the beginning, what Representative Clifford and Chairman Larson have talked about our aggressive testing. So we were able to test when our clinics were closed to the public. We were able to test in Equity ETD here with the clinic there from 9 to 4. And then also at Arapahoe, the drive-through testing we were able to do from 10 to 12 at Arapahoe because that clinic has started to reopen for services to the tribal members in the community. Right now, we are doing testing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday if you're showing symptoms. If you're showing symptoms, then you are testing at Arapahoe only those days from 10 to 12. And then on Thursday is open testing for anyone who would like to have a test. On Thursday, you can come to the Arapahoe Clinic and test. And the reason why that we have limited our testing at this point in this time period is that we are stocking and getting as much testing supplies for we are getting ready for the cold and flu season. As you all know, Dr. Fossey on the national level has said that it's going to be worse than what we have seen so far. So our clinics are getting ready for the cold and flu season and possibly a tidal wave of positive cases. This has been an event, for our medical team. And again, we work closely with the Indian Health Service and also the Eastern Shoshone on this. This has been a effort that we've done together as both tribes to make sure that our whole reservation is safe and that we are aggressively acting to this pandemic. I hope I've answered your question, Representative Clifford.
Any other questions or follow-up? Questions from other committee members? Oh, Representative Clifford. Your mic's not on, Representative Clifford. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Spoonhunter, is there going to be, what is the budget for the testing? If we have a big second wave and we need to do some mass and aggressive testing, do we have enough funds to cover and allocate it to cover testing? I know you had mentioned in your previous testimony here, concerns about the schools outside of the reservation district and the potential impact of a breakout, an outbreak and people being quarantined. And this has hit me personally, where I took liability of shutting down a program because my daughter tested positive. And then that economic impact it has with people, of where I have my office. And that's a huge responsibility. But there's concern there, and I kind of heard it in your testimony, as far as when non-tribal people are coming onto the reservation, meaning, we have that 8 a.m., 4 o'clock drive where people are coming to our schools to teach and educate our people and provide all these good services in our educational systems. But I heard your caution on that as far as budget. Are you going to have enough budget to continue testing if we have outbreaks? Thank you.
Chairman Spoonhunter.
Yes, so thank you, Representative Clifford, for the question and those comments. Right now, we are budgeting out of when we 630 Indian Health Service, we're able to third-party bill for health services. And so from some of the money that we're getting from third-party billing, we budgeted for testing again for the fall. I don't have numbers in front of me that I can give you, but I will get those emailed to all of you, this Tribal Select Committee, as you requested for the budget for the fall. Those are very good comments. When we've talked to the superintendents of Riverton and Lander, the Riverton superintendent and also Ashley from the state epidemiologist office and public health office, who works closely with the reservation. we are concerned because the schools, if there's an outbreak at one of the schools in Riverton or Lander, and those are in regards to enrolled tribal members of either tribe, then the school is going to work with the Wind River Healthcare Clinic for the outbreak and for the contact tracing. And so we incur those costs ourselves, and that's a good question because we really haven't. That's our concern is if we get overloaded with outbreaks in schools, do we have enough money to help our tribal members with isolation, with the medical services for being positive, and also the contact tracing, which the school districts have said we're going to give those to the Wind River Healthcare Clinic. And so I've had a conversation with the medical team there, our clinical director and our chief medical officer, and we're very concerned. We're very concerned that if we have a tidal wave of outbreaks, then the responsibility is just passed on to the tribe. And this is the reason why, and I know Eastern Shoshone, Madam Chair Karen Snyder can talk about this also, is that this is why we kept our schools closed. And this is why we strongly advise virtual learning, is because we have children that we need to care for and as the road members. And we just don't have the adequate resources to do that in case there is a tidal wave of outbreak. But we are working the best we can. We will get you the numbers of what we currently have projected for the fall. Again, we look forward, we work closely with Wyoming Public Health, their office, and with Ashley. She's been a blessing to both tribes and helping us. And we also have started to work with CDC in Atlanta so that they can help assist the tribes also if there is a tidal wave outbreak here in the fall.
Questions from other committee members? Let's say, I see Representative Blackburn.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Chairman Spooner, I wonder if, speaking about the future testing, you have COVID money that we have not utilized there. I wonder if any part of that can be set aside for future testing, or if there's a way to capture that money for that process. Do you have any ideas?
Thank you, Representative Blackburn. So on that, again, we do have money, but we've got, again, with Congress not extending the deadline. So for spending that money, we got to spend it by December 31st, and so it's a tight time frame to allocate that money and make sure that all of our CARES Act money is spent by December 31st. I can take that question also to our CEO of the Wind River Healthcare, because I don't know the answer to that right now in regards to the funding that they currently have and then the CARES Act funding, but I can get that answer and get that also to the Tribal Select Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Co-Chairman Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairman Spoonhunter, could you just give your thoughts on the process or the coordination of efforts during the pandemic in Fremont County with the you had the tribes working with the county health and the commissioners. There was kind of an effort of the tribes and the county to work together on this whole pandemic thing. What lessons have we learned? Did that go well, or are there things that we need to do differently? And if there is, how are we going about getting that change to better work together? If there need to be changes, I guess that's my question.
Chairman Spoonhunter.
Yes. So this has been a work in progress for Chairman Larson. we're working with the county public health office. We were far advanced in response to the coronavirus, just by the great medical team we have here. And it took a few months for the county public health office to get to where we were at the time of when we first started addressing this pandemic and responded to it. We continue to work every day. It's a work in progress. You know, there's no clear plan to this. We hit things as they come, and we try to work together and resolve the matters. Again, you know, we are very thankful to the state office, who's been that bridge between the tribal medical team here at the River Healthcare and also the Fremont County Public Health. So we're working together. It's you know, we just take one thing at a time, and we try to work and resolve as fast as we can. Again, we're just thankful for the state office, especially Ashley, and she's been very great and detrimental to the tribe. So we thank you.
Additional questions, Representative Clifford?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairman Spoon-Hunter, this is kind of a wouldn't you agree type comment, and I'm going to share some statistics. I did some research here, and I think I just kind of want to lay the groundwork for the rest of the Tribal Relations Committee on statistics. So Chairman, wouldn't you agree? Wyoming has a population of approximately a little over 22,000 Indigenous, American Indian, Native American people that live in the state, according to the 2011-2013 American Community Survey Report. This population suffers from significant health disparities. For the years 2007 to 2011, the death rate among children ages 1 through 17 in Wyoming was 27.2 per 100,000. American Indian children had the highest rate of deaths, 61.2 per 100,000, twice the rate for non-tribal children. The Indian health system statistics indicate the average age of death for tribal members is 52 years of age. And with the average death of rate for those with alcohol addiction being 39 years old, and those with multi-substance addictions being an average death of 31 years of age. So I just want to share that, and wouldn't you agree, this is what we've been suffering with for a long time here, Chairman.
Chairman Spoon-Hunter?
Yes, thank you, Representative Clifford, for those staggering statistics, but I do agree that here on the reservation that we deal with a lot of pre-existing medical conditions, diabetes and high blood pressure, and also, as Representative Clifford has said, substance abuse. That's something that we continue to work on a daily basis. Those statistics are very true, and you see why we have people dying when at such an early age when they shouldn't, due to related substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or whether it's drugs, those types of things that we go through on a daily basis, and the average lifespan, again, Representative Clifford is right on. It's very low for a Native American, unfortunately. Those are the things that we do, and sometimes it's not always alcohol and substance abuse related. There are pre-existing medical conditions for a lot of our tribal members that have just different medical things going on in their lives, and so again, Representative Clifford brings a very good point that this coronavirus has hit us hard, and has hit us hard as a minority. and that we continue to address it and work through it. And this is the reason why you've seen so many deaths here on the reservation, even though we've tried to isolate and try to social distance and aggressively test and quarantine our tribal members. But unfortunately, a lot of the COVID-related deaths, people had diabetes, people had high blood pressure, people had pre-existing health conditions that they just weren't able to survive the coronavirus. And she talked about children, and we had children at the hotel casino in April and May, 4 to 10 years old, who were positive, and it was very disheartening and very sad. The parents who would contact me, who were there with their children in the hotel and watch their children try hard to breathe, and were sick. It's we've seen the coronavirus from at the age of 4 all the way to ages up to 70 plus. That is hit hard, and so again, we continue to work through this, and we are hoping that the vaccine will be ready here. We know President Trump's Operation Warp Speed has a vaccine coming out January of 2021. I was on a call with the HHS Secretary of Tribal Advisories Committee, which I belong to, on a national call last week, where we addressed some of this with CDC and also with HHS, and that when they do receive the vaccine, that we make sure that American Indians and Alaska Natives are in that testing for the virus vaccine, so that it works for our people who have pre-existing health conditions, and it's very important that our people are part of the testing before it is released. And we understand that there will be 300 million vaccines to begin with, but we want to make sure that Indian country, American Indians and Alaska Natives are part of that allocation of the first 300 million vaccines. So I just want to say that much. Thank you.
A follow-up, Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the beginning of the pandemic, it was brought up, our collaborative effort with our county officials when the pandemic really hit, and it came here to Wyoming and it came to the Wind River. How were you guys met? What issues did you face when you rolled out your aggressive testing? Did it impact you, the tribe, and did it impact our tribal members as far as treatment, attitudes? Any thoughts on that, Chairman Spoonhunter?
Chairman Spoonhunter.
Yes, so with this pandemic, we all know comes the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when we first were testing, as you all know, our first case came from a Lander retirement center. A tribal member went there to visit their family member, and the virus was there. The virus was there, and nobody had no idea it was there yet. And then the family member came home and got the symptoms and was tested, and then she had exposed about 15 people in her family, immediate family. And when we start testing, unfortunately, we met criticism and racism, unfortunately, within our community. We were referred to as those Indians that have the virus. Those types of comments. Our tribal members went to grocery stores in Riverton, and one tribal member was walking out with their groceries, and a non-Indian lady called her a dirty Indian. Unfortunately, those things happen. And when we were aggressively trying to address the pandemic and make sure that we were in control of the spread of the virus, I try to be anyway. Fremont County was behind us and lacked the education and the knowledge of what we were trying to do at the time. We had a transient population that our clinics went and tested. They went out in the field and along with Indian Health Service and went to the transient population in Riverton. And unfortunately, they all tested positive for the virus. And so at the time, I think it was the sheriff's office who helped them go to the fairgrounds in Riverton, so until we could find a place for them to go. I know Representative Clifford was on that phone call that day, along with Fremont County Sheriff, and I think one of the Fremont County Commissioners was also on the call. We were trying to figure this out. Where could we put our transient population? We decided to go with Great Plains Hall. And at that point, I'm not trying to point fingers, but I'm just telling the truth here. To that point, we had no cooperation from Fremont County until then, until we said we were going to put them at the Arapahoe Great Plains Hall in Arapahoe, Wyoming. And then once that happened, as you remember, Representative Clifford, the county commissioner, the Fremont County Sheriff got on the phone and said, we will help transport the transient population out to Arapahoe. That's the first step that Fremont County had offered to help us in this in addressing the transient population that were positive. Also, once we got the people out there to Great Plains, with our clinic and our staff that took care of them, and our chief financial officer here, Brian Ortiz, had looked into those transitional housing, basically oil and gas rig man camp trailers, and so we moved those to Arapahoe so that we could put our people there instead of having them all at Great Plains Hall. Unfortunately, and I know we've addressed this with Tribal Liaison Cy Lee, and some of the concerns as he sits on the board of directors of Sage West. Some of our tribal people were going to Riverton to get medical help and medical services, and what was our concern was Riverton Sage West was turning away our tribal members in fear of coronavirus. And our tribal members were put on back of trucks, sheriff trucks, straight from the hospital out to the transit camp. And then they became, care of the River Health Clinic. That was very disturbing that our tribal members had gone to the Riverton emergency room, were wanted to be treated for being sick, and then we're told, well, you need to go out to the transient camp or to the power grounds, and then here comes the sheriff's office, and they're put on back of trucks. So and the way that we worked through that was we bought a van that has a plexiglass and everything needed in order for a person to safely transport anybody from the hospitals to the transient camp. And we worked with the hospital CEO at the time. Look, call us. We'll come after our own people. They don't need to be riding in the back of trucks. And so, unfortunately, that's why I said the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Thank you for pointing it out, Representative Clifford.
Questions from committee members? Thank you, Chairman Spoonhunter. At this point, we'd like to hear from the Eastern Shoshone also on COVID-19 pandemic efforts. And so Councilwoman Snyder, I see you there on the screen. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Co-Chair Larson, and members of the committee. I want to thank the Northern Arapaho Tribe. They've done a very good recap of some of the ongoing issues that we face here in Wind River. You know, two tribes, two sovereign nations sharing one land base. So of course, our concerns, our issues are all similar, and especially how we approach this pandemic. I'm going to say that all of our processes and our protocols have just enhanced the collaboration necessary to get through this pandemic, have just, you know, have enhanced and gotten a lot stronger through the pandemic. One of the things that I'm going to talk, you know, specifically about is the ongoing need for like shelter. Again, as Chairman Spoonhunter talked about, is the multi-generational families, the lack of the ability to co-house, to isolate those families. And so during the peak of this pandemic, we worked in collaboration with the Northern Arapaho Tribe. They used the Wind River Casino to isolate those individuals that were positive for COVID. We used the Shoshone Rose Casino to isolate those individuals that needed, not necessarily were positive, but they needed a place because they lived in those multi-generational houses, overcrowding within their housing conditions. So we use our casino. And unfortunately, we have not been able to reopen our casino. It's on the table for discussion, but there's a lot of variables that has gone into this conversation and as to why we haven't. I'll talk a little bit about the Eastern Shoshone's allocation for the funding, but I'll talk, before I get into that, I'd like to just talk about some of the ongoing issues, as Representative Clifford talked about. We were very disappointed when some of this, when the pandemic was really at its peak. We had asked the state of Wyoming to specifically give us the numbers as to who was testing in Fremont County. To my knowledge, we've never gotten that data. Very concerning when the governor's office was trying to release data that was specific to Wind River. I was very upset when I found out they were trying to pull Wind River Reservation out of Fremont County. We got on the phone. The governor's medical office wanted to release that data specific to Wind River. And my argument was, why would they pull the data? We're part of Fremont County. And until we know how much Fremont County is testing, we don't want to put a target on our back. That's been an ongoing issue with this. I think it's been, it's definitely impacted the Northern Arapaho Tribe more so than the Eastern Shoshone. We have been fortunate that we have not had no fatalities thus far. We've definitely had complications from, you know, from the COVID. We've had people sick from the COVID, but very concerning about some of those disparities that we see and how people are treated. Another issue that we got into was when the schools were reopening. I feel very fortunate, and our school districts were very thankful that we kept that health order in place, and we didn't require our children to go to school. We didn't have that luxury of that occurring outside of the reservation. And so some of the discussions were, the schools wanted to know, well, where are we going to go send the reservation kids to test? And so my question is, well, where are you going to send the non-reservation kids to test? I mean, the overflow, the resources that the Northern Arapaho Tribe has used during this COVID testing. I mean, I know they're running out of resources. They have been a great partner to us. I think we've seen during this pandemic, the true benefit of 630-80 up to self-governance, especially with the healthcare system. We were at the mercy of the Indian Health Service. We could not get medical oversight. We could not get them to test people that were asymptomatic. And so we had to rely on the resources of Wind River Cares. And so now, in order for us to assist in this process, you know, as I guess as the new normal and time marches on, is we do want to come up with our own health, our own testing facility. So we're working collaboratively with our tribal health department, Dave Myers, to purchase a trailer, and we hope to have that process in place here shortly. Indian Health Service right now, I know they're doing a kind of a workaround to do a drive-through at the east end of our parking lot here. And that also would be a way to test without getting people into the main clinic. So there's some things, there's boots on the ground, there's movement here, like in general, just to assist. A grave concern for me as the potential for the flu season, another round of COVID. I have some grave concerns. I don't think we're ready. I don't think Fremont County is ready. And that's been the most disappointing part for me, as we have yet to see who within Fremont County outside of Wind River Cares and what, minimal the Indian Health Service has been able to do, what testing is going on. Really, really concerning when we were looked at as the source. We started the pandemic, and it was, if you just looked at the data, it was just because of the amount of testing that was done. Of course, our numbers are going to be higher because of the number, the amount of tests that's been done. So I will get off. Well, and the other thing, and I know that Chairman Spoonhunter talked about President Trump's initiative for warp speed. I know one of the things they're having a problem with right now is to get minorities to participate in that test model. I know they're really having trouble with the Latinos, and to get the Black population to participate in that test study. I think it's really important that we have those health statistics, from all representations of all races. And then there's really, really high numbers of people that are going to decline the vaccination. 40%, I think, of the people that they have screened thus far have said they're going to decline to take that vaccination. So we've got something really looming here, on the horizon, that I think we need to all put our heads together. And it was disappointing to me throughout this pandemic that we didn't have leadership at the state level. We didn't have leadership at the national level. And I think that's why our numbers continue to grow, is to shut some of these places down, some of the schools that have been back, in session. I think it's staggering, some of the numbers that we see. So I really do appreciate, and I appreciate Representative Clifford, her numbers, for her recap as some of the staggering statistics of what we're faced out here, on the Wind River and Indian as in regards to our health disparities. I do thank her for that data and those statistics. I directly do not have the statistics for the COVID numbers. I don't know, Dave Myers, he's our tribal health director. I seen he was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still on, if he could recap, but I will go back and just talk a little bit about what the Eastern Shoshone has done with our COVID treasury funding. We were awarded $12+ million, and our goal and objective has been to build infrastructure. We were very fortunate to hire Mike Ute. He's been on board for 3 weeks, and it's been a godsend. We did a presentation to our general counsel on Saturday, and he went through all of those dollars as to how they're being spent, because there was a lot of concerns in the community about where those dollars were being spent, and rightfully so. And so he's been on board for 3 weeks. We just weren't able to get the money moving fast enough, out of our coffers, and with no degree of certainty that the Heals Are the Heroes Act is going to pass, we're faced with, we're going to try to get as much allocated and out the door. I mean, our goal is to get all the money out the door before December 1st. And as Mr. Ute kind of talked about in our general membership meeting, it's the COVID funding has been a godsend and a curse, just because it came at us so quick and it was so heavy regulated. But we've kind of managed, like through talking all of these group sessions that we've had, like with other tribal leaders and stuff like that, we managed to maneuver around some of those some of those rules. Oh, and before I forget, Liaison Tindor has joined us here. He's here with us, had an internet connect problem at his home. And so he's here with us if we want to get any questions back for him. So basically what the Eastern Shoshone Tribe is doing with our funding is we are putting a lot in our infrastructure. And the justification for all of that is just based on if a second round of COVID coupled with the flu season. We are putting a lot of money into our Shoshone Roads Department in order for them to get out for shut-in people, for elderly people. So we're putting a lot of money there. We're putting money into the solid waste program. With the kids being out of school, it's just overwhelming, the amount of trash that we have. We put some money into, and we have done 2 distributions to our individual tribal members. We did a distribution back in June of $800 per tribal member. And the intent of that was to help stabilize because of the unemployment, the lack of jobs. Tribal departments weren't open. So we did it for stabilization of their own personal resources. And then we just recently, it's still in the process right now, is we've done a second round to individuals, and it's only those individuals that are 18 years of age and older. And we've done it for food security to help them because the kids are still out of school. And we do understand that the school districts are providing meals, but we just think that it's been a huge strain on our individual tribal members. So those are the 2 options that we had paid out to the individual members of the tribe. Some of the other stuff that we have done is we are putting generators in our community centers. We are purchasing a trailer so we can do our own COVID testing. We are putting money for educational resilience to help those individuals that are in not only higher education, but within all of the schools to help them with internet connectivity as well as purchase of laptops. Let me see what some of the other areas. And we are, hopefully we will work on, we have to do something about an isolation center. If we choose to open, our casino has not been used as an isolation center for some time now, but we've got to come up with some viable solution because the need is definitely going to be in place. We have given some money to our housing authority because they had some houses that had been in disrepair. And so we've actually allocated funds to them to help them with deep cleaning and to also to prepare them for a second wave. And so we would have the opportunity to do some isolation if necessary. I think those were some of the areas, that I wanted to really to touch on broadly. Appreciate Representative Blackburn's comment that possibly as this pandemic moves or we have a resurgence of it, that we are going to need extra resources out here to continue to do those testing and to try to keep our community members safe. I don't know. I think that that's kind of really a broad scope of what we have done, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Vice Chair Snyder. Anyone on the committee have any questions for Councilwoman Schneider? Representative Larson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Vice Chairman Snyder, kind of the same question I asked Chairman Spoonhunter, if you could maybe expand a little bit, knowing the challenges you have with housing in multi-generational populations living in a single domicile. Any plans or how are you approaching it, alleviating that problem? You indicated you give some funding to your housing authority but I would, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would anticipate that was somewhat limited. Any thoughts on how to rectify that problem to some degree?
Thank you for that question, Co-Chair Larson. So we have not, you're absolutely correct. The resources that the Eastern Shoshone Housing Authority has are very limited. And if we can get 5 of those homes ready that were in disrepair for numerous reasons, some of it had to do with, there was meth mitigation that needed to be done. And so that's why we processed some of our resources for them. But at the maximum, it could possibly be only 5 houses that would be available to assist with the need to do, break up some of those multi-generational housing needs. But we have contemplated this also, is to buy something similar to what Northern Arapahoe has, to put something possibly in our power grounds. I know they purchased the man camps. I know they're self-contained, so they're pretty efficient for the most part. I just don't know what the longevity of those types of facilities are. I don't know how long you could use them, or actually how long you could anticipate or even ask that a family stay within those types of facilities. So that's right now the only plan that we have on the horizon, is to see what housing can do. Our housing authority is actually going to start building. They've gotten an award, so there is some new housing units coming up. And the other thing is that the Eastern Shoshone Tribe has 3 homes in Riverton, and that we're hoping that we could put some resources into getting those 3 homes ready to assist with that need for additional housing. And it's not a lot, but right now that's really all we have on the table. Thank you for that question.
Questions for Councilwoman Snyder? Maybe this is more, I think I forgot to ask this of the Northern Arapahoe. What is the capacity at that Days Inn? I'm just curious to know if anyone has that number. Maybe later. Any other questions for Councilwoman Snyder? Okay, well, thank you for your remarks. I appreciate it. And, I think that, people have asked me, why is Wind River getting hit hard? And I think that, we're really shining a light on some of those pre-existing conditions that were generations in the making. And so unfortunately, I do think that more attention needs to be paid to overall Indian health. But I don't know that that's a quick thing to reverse. And so we definitely have, as a country, have our work cut out for us. But, this pandemic has certainly highlighted the fact that Indian country isn't well, and a lot of people do suffer from things like diabetes and other issues. Right, Councilwoman Snyder, I saw you unmuted. Did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to yield just a few minutes to our liaison. I mean, since he's here and I think you'd be able to hear him, I'd just like to give him just a few minutes just to let him, so you know that he's fully engaged in what we're doing. Okay. Thank
you. I think that's appropriate. And, Lee, I understand when internet's down, you have to jump in your car with your computer and fly across wherever you're getting. So thank you for making that effort and getting online with us. And we're happy to hear from you right now.
Yeah, and I do apologize for that. Thank you, Chairman and Madam Chair, Alice, and the rest of the committee. So I believe I got maybe to the half of what I was trying to explain. And for the last portion, so for the meetings and internal communications for both Cy and myself, the tribal liaisons and meeting with the governors, policy advisors, other staff members is needed on a weekly basis. And in addition to that, we are meeting directly with Governor Gordon on a monthly basis to keep abreast the issues as well. We are both communicating back and forth on relatable issues, and we do the best that we can to communicate through phone calls, Zoom, and Google Hangouts. And one of the issues, well, not really the issues, a positive thing that came out of some of this was the wastewater management through the State CARES Act. And that I felt was a huge success. I'm not sure if that was brought up in conversation already. I don't want to repeat that if it has been.
I think it has.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you. That's time for questions.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for Lee Tendor? Okay. Is that Representative Sweeney?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So both Cy and Lee, I'm hoping you're going to be with us this afternoon for the discussion on the health department that's coming forth. Is that correct?
Mr. Tendor?
Yes, Representative Sweeney.
Great.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay, Representative Clifford?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Vice Chair Snyder. What is your tribal membership population? How many members do you have?
We have 4,400 and I'm going to say 38 enrolled tribal members.
Vice Chair Snyder?
Were you able to hear my response? Oh, we lost. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We can hear you now, Karen.
Oh,
We
okay.
could hear you and we heard your response.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we now have a time on public comment and just looking at our agenda. Heather, was there somebody that had signed up for this portion of public comment on our agenda?
Madam Chair, there was, and I have not seen that person. I'm going to try to contact the person. I wonder, we haven't seen that person come into the waiting room yet. So excuse me for just one moment.
Yes, let's
Madam Chair.
sorry, 1 second. Who was that? Representative Blackburn.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So I wonder how many Arapaho members there are.
Is there someone from Northern Arapaho that could answer that question?
Yes, thank you for that question. And there are about 10,516 enrolled Northern Apples.
5,000 or 10,516?
Yeah, 10,516.
Thank you.
Yes. And then, Madam Chair, also we are trying to find out the capacity that the Days Inn will hold. So we'll get that answer to you as soon as possible.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Certainly not necessary. I was just curious.
Chairman, this is Councilman Fast Horse. I believe there's 49 rooms at the Days Inn property.
Thank you, Councilman Fast Horse. Since we see you there or heard you, is there anything that you'd like to add to this discussion? I apologize, I didn't see your face, so I wasn't knowing if you wanted to speak, but if you want to add any comments, we'd welcome them.
Thank you, Madam Chair Ellis. Just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be with you all today, and appreciate all the hard efforts that you guys do for us and on behalf of advocating for the tribes, and really appreciate all of you guys to take the time and really hone in on some of our discussions, because it is very important that we continue to push forward and help each other get through this pandemic as one, you know, and really appreciate the collaborations all the way around Eastern Shoshone, the state, the county, and again, all of you guys' efforts to maintain and continue to push for the topics and issues that we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate it. Alrighty, Heather, were you able to see if that person wanted to join for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. Her name is Michelle Hoffman, and she is being admitted right this moment.
Perfect. We'll wait.
She
then.
is from Fremont County School District 14.
Thank you, Heather, for making that work. Hello, we see you're connecting, Superintendent. Oh, I lost you.
We can see the top of your head, Michelle.
Oh, there you are.
That a girl.
Hi. And then unmute.
Unmute.
There we go. Welcome.
Thank you. All this technology is wonderful. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time today. My name is Michelle Hoffman, and I'm the interim superintendent here at Fremont County School District number 14, Wyoming Indian Schools, located on the Wood River Indian Reservation. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time to communicate with you some of the things it has taken for my school district to open in a closed tier. When schools closed in March, there was no time to adequately plan for educating our students in a sound way. Paper packets were the mode of educating with little to no interaction with our students. It was a lost quarter for many. When I came back into our district on July 1st, I knew we had to work to do in order to do it right, and the planning for doing it right is massive. The first order of business was to develop our SMART plan, which identified 3 tiers of opening our schools. Tier 1 is a modified opening with most students back in the district with precautions. Tier 2 is a hybrid with half of the students here and half online. And Tier 3 closed, but offering education virtually. Since we were not sure which tier we would be opening, we started planning on Tier 2, the hybrid model. We began looking at our facilities. 2 of our buildings are very old and needed sinks for hand washing, and they were not available. We had to order 33 portable hot, cold water sinks to accommodate when students do come back to school. We upgraded our ventilation system to provide UV filters to help filter our air coming into our buildings. And we partnered with AmeriClean Sanitizing Company to provide complete disinfecting sanitation of all of our school buildings and vehicles. These were just a few things that it cost our district well over $242,000, which we had not anticipated and had actually nothing to do with educating our students. On July 30th, our board voted unanimously to open in a virtual setting, thus changing our course of opening our schools. As you all know, Fremont County led the state in confirmed COVID cases, with all 14 deaths attributed to the reservation community. Over 3/4 of our students live either in a household which consists of grandparents or elderly relatives, or they're being raised by their grandparents. This puts our elderly population at risk for contacting this disease. Due to the high numbers of confirmed cases, the deaths, and the Wind River Intertribal Council resolution stay-at-home orders, my board of trustees made the decision to open in a closed tier for at least the first quarter. Our staff returned to work on August 12th, and we needed PPEs for them to return safely. Our district purchased face masks, shields, hand sanitizers, thermometers before they ever returned. We certainly appreciate the state purchasing our PPE for all districts. However, the timing of receiving this equipment didn't match with when our staff returned. Our first shipment we received was on August 24th, 12 days after our staff were on board. In the first 16 days, staff had been to work, 14 had to be sent home for close contact quarantine, and we had 1 staff member test positive for COVID. In other words, 10% of our staff had been sent home for at least 10 days. This has continued, but at a slower rate. Technology was another issue we had to deal with. 95% of our students do not have access to the internet or Wi-Fi. And in order to do virtual education, we needed to address this right away. Our homeschool coordinators went to 44 different geographical locations, identifying whether Union or Verizon hotspots would work in those areas. Our district purchased hotspots with the governor's technology monies available. We are currently working to order the additional needed Chromebooks, but the shortage in the United States has put the availability of these products out 3 or 4 months. And if we don't have the products in our hands of December 30th, we lose the availability to use those federal funds. The next issue concerned training. Virtual teaching is not something most teachers are adept at, and we knew we needed intense training to ensure our teachers would be getting the best possible education. We modified our calendar and upfronted our professional development days for teachers. Staff has spent many hours learning to plan lessons on Canvas and Zoom. And we also knew many of our parents would need training to help their children. So we offered a week of parent trainings, and we're pleased we had 218 parents and grandparents attend this training. We're planning on offering additional training in the upcoming weeks. We put plans in place to ensure our students receive hot cooked meals delivered directly to their homes. Every day, our cooks prepare over 615 breakfasts and hot lunches to be delivered. Many of our staff volunteered to ride these buses for a couple of reasons. They want to make sure our students are fed, but they also need to have that contact to make sure our students are doing okay. We ask ourselves if this planning was successful. We think so. Our enrollment stands at 612 students, with 35 students still needing to complete our registration. During our first week of student engagement, which was last week, 80% of our students were logged on and completing work virtually. This week, we have plans put in place for staff contacting those other 20%, either by phone or home visits. These are just a few of the things we have encountered. And for right now, we are trying our best to exist in this new normal of education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Superintendent Hoffman. Questions? I wanted to just thank you, the Joint Education Committee, some COVID-related issues a few weeks ago during a hearing, and I think that the experience in Wind River is unique, and so I do appreciate you coming to this committee as well and just kind of communicating that, some of those nuances as well. Any questions for Superintendent Hoffman? Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Hoffman, I got a question for you, and thank you for your stats and all that you're doing there at District 14. I've heard some from constituents from other districts and their current concern with the Wyoming Department of Education. Do you feel you're getting any pushback or feeling threatened that your 20% are not getting logged on? And if they're not getting logged on and you're not doing your full faith effort of meeting parents and grandparents halfway, is there any threatening of funds, school funds?
Superintendent Hoffman.
Madam Chairman and Representative Clifford, so far we have not had that experience. I have to say that over the many years that I've been in this office, that the Department of Ed has truly worked very hard at meeting us with some of the issues that we have had. I'm working on one right now. As I said, that we modified our calendar. We had to modify our calendar in order to get training for our staff. That meant pushing back student start days. So I'm working with the Department of Ed right now on how, in a closed tier, this is also new, a closed tier, we're held harmless. And so they're trying to define if that also means that we have less student days up front. I haven't heard back from them, but to this point, they have been very good with our district, at least.
Any other questions for Superintendent Hoffman? Okay. Seeing none, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairwoman Ellis, can I just speak a little bit on behalf of the Northern Apple Tribe?
Chairman Spoonhunter, my apologies. I should have asked. Running a meeting remotely, that's my apologies. Please.
That's fine. Thank you for the time. I just want to thank Superintendent Hoffman for taking the lead on helping our children to be safe and that they're afforded the opportunity to learn. She's been very instrumental in helping our Fremont County superintendents work together aggressively to understand the reservation needs and how our communities live here on the reservation. Her being a teacher and a leader in the community for so many years, that helps us. And on behalf of the Northern Apple Tribe, we just want to thank her for all her efforts, and also for acknowledging the Wind River Intertribal Council stay-at-home order and respecting the tribal leaders' wishes. So we just want to thank her today on behalf of Northern Apple Tribe and Northern Apple Business Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Spoonhunter. Eastern Shoshone, I see that Councilwoman Snyder has stepped away, but if anyone is in the room and would like to ask a question of the good superintendent, I'll give you a second. Seeing none. Thank you so much. Representative Sweeney.
While we're on the, thank you, Madam Chairman, on the topic of the pandemic and education, one thing that Michelle, that thank you for that information. That was extremely helpful. And one of my fears is in the talk of pulling down so that you've only got one school district conversations per county. Do you have some thoughts going through the pandemic now and with the remote learning? My belief is that won't work in Fremont County. And I just, for my own edification, being you're here, do you have, with your history in Fremont County, do you have any thoughts that might be helpful as we go into this next session?
Superintendent Hoffman.
Madam Chairman, Representative Sweeney, oh boy, do I ever have a lot of thoughts about that. Fremont County is a huge county. One superintendent, when I first came in July and heard the talk of possibly one superintendent for Fremont County, you have all the way from Du Bois, you have Shoshone, Lander, Riverton, Wind River, and then the reservation schools. I have to tell you that because of this pandemic, this is a superintendent's job is a hard job as it is anyway if you do it correctly. But my minimum amount of hours a day is 11, has been 11. They go up to 14 to 15 hours a day for all the planning that has needed to be done. I had this gray hair before, but it's gotten even grayer since we've started this. That one superintendent just could not do all the work that needs to be done. If you're looking at true oversight into a school district and making sure things are run correctly, if you want just a figurehead, that probably would work, but the work in the school district would not get done the way it should. On the other hand, in Fremont County, and I'm sure this has been brought up, and I know Representative Clifford is very involved in this, is the impact aid money that the state would lose. They could not compensate the school districts that receive that, that it would increase your funding at this point. So no, I would not think that one superintendent and or one business manager, if you want to make sure your money's taken care of correctly, and if all the people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Follow up with Representative Sweeney.
Thank you. Just a quick follow up, and thank you for that. In particular, being this is the Selectmen Committee on Tribal Relations, what I'm most concerned about is the reservation. And so do we need two superintendents on the reservation itself, two separate distinct school districts for the reservation, or could you get by with a superintendent for all tribal schools?
Superintendent Hoffman.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Sweeney, we are completely different, distinct communities with different constituents within those communities. And one superintendent or two, or actually there's three, and if you want to count St. Stephen's, which is the VIA school, there's four. So each one needs to have their own superintendent, because you're dealing with, you would have three different communities, because you have Fort Washakie, you have the Ethiopian area, and you have the Arapaho area. Dealing with anywhere between 15 to 21 board members, and just a long time ago, someone asked me if I thought that one superintendent could take on at least 2 districts, and I said, no, they can't, because you are dealing with different community needs, issues, and you have to respect that. It's like you would ask Lander and Riverton if they could handle one superintendent could take both of those schools. I just don't see how that would work, in my own opinion.
Questions from the committee? We got Chairman Larson.
And I know this is off topic of what we're doing, but Representative Sweeney brought it up, and so Superintendent Hoffman, I struggle with that. I come from a school district in southeastern Utah. It's the largest geographical school district at one time in the nation. It's considerably bigger than Fremont County, with one that has one school district, encompasses a reservation, and I think 5 or 6 different schools, and has worked well historically for decades and well, since its creation, with one superintendent. And I'm just wondering what magic is in the air down there that makes that work that we can't use up here.
Superintendent Hoffman.
Madam Chairman, Chair Larson, I guess I would ask what other supporting administration is within that superintendent's office, because we're small school districts that superintendents often take on other roles as well, and that could be curriculum, that could be grants, that could be, I mean, right now we just finished with school improvement plans as a big part of that. We're finished with our consolidated grants, a big part of that. You know, we deal with housing issues. We deal with some of the things that others wouldn't. So I don't know if that would mean that you're shaking your head no, but I don't know what other kind of administration help they would have.
Alrighty, we're going to get back on topic a little bit. We're talking about COVID and pandemic effects. I see Councilwoman Snyder is back with us. Do you have any questions for Superintendent Hoffman?
I don't have any questions for her, just a comment. Just hats off to all of the local school districts and what they've had to do to get the kids ready, to get, you know, like the teaching staff, to have this huge transition as to what virtual learning is. And we can't tell them what's going to happen next. We can't tell them after the first quarter if they can, you know, go back to the blended model where you have part of the kids in school. I mean, I talked to a lot of our community members, and a lot of them are not ready to send their kids physically to school. So I think it's going to be really imperative that we have those blended models. Thank her for, you know, for her ongoing comments and commitment and advocacy to the State Department of Education. That's so imperative, is to help our school, to help the state of Wyoming, and especially this body, is to understand the uniqueness of Wind River. Again, can't emphasize enough, 2 separate sovereign nations sharing one land base, and that comes across every day in our education systems, to helping those kids understand, to helping our families, and to serve those differences. You know, culturally, we're different. And I think that needs to be on the table all the time. So thank you. I don't have any comments or questions for her, though. Thank you, Ms. Hoffman.
Thank you, Councilwoman Snyder. Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Hoffman, I got a question, a couple questions. How has the mask mandate been going as far as your staff in complying with the CDC requirement and guidelines as far as respecting, you know, our tribe's stay-at-home order and the pandemic guidelines still in place? But again, we have non-tribal staff and personnel. How has the masks been going? Guidelines.
Superintendent Hoffman.
Madam Co-Chair and Representative Clifford, great question. It's been going very well. It is what it is. I mean, that's the rule we put out, and everyone's following it. And in fact, we had elections at our in our gym here recently, and we put up signs, and I was in contact with Julie Freese, the elections, and said that it is required before people come in, and all their election judges had them. We'd have face shields in case people have an issue with a face mask. But I did a survey with our staff before they ever came to work, asking if they had any medical conditions and or they couldn't wear one. And I only had 2 that had medical conditions, but they will wear them. And so we're doing very well with that so far. Thank you.
Follow up, Representative Clifford. Representative Clifford, I think you're on mute.
Unmute. Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you. Superintendent Hoffman, I just wanted to follow up as far as the budget deficit the state's gonna head into, right? And we're talking about the pandemic and the financial impact that it's caused to our districts here. And so is there ways for you, 1, can you think of ways to save money? And 2, can you think of ways to make revenue? And I ask these because this is the questions I'm hearing as a state legislature, as a state as a whole. And so I asked this question because I think it may be coming down the pipeline to ask all school districts, 1, how are you going to save money? Because we're headed into a deficit. And how are you going to make, money for your school districts?
Representative Hoffman, if you can.
Madam Chairman and Representative Clifford, yeah, we're looking at that 10% cut and how that's going to be. And that's going to, basically, we don't buy enough pencils to even get close to 10%. It's going to have to be people. And we will have that numbers. We're hoping to have a Fremont County meeting with our legislators, hopefully in November. And we will have that information for all of our legislators so it can see what the impact is to Fremont County of how many jobs that will be lost. And it will be people. It has to be people. As far as the school district making money, I don't know if we can do a big sale that can make that up. But looking at the proposals and things coming across and neighboring states, I, for one, a personal income tax is not going to raise enough money that the state needs, but it looks like that 1.5% sales tax could help ease some of the concerns. But I'm not sure with there's not taxable lands around us here that the school district could do much to increase revenue.
Okay, committee members, thank you so much, Superintendent Hoffman. Heather, that was all I had on my list of public comment. Is that accurate, or do we need to hear from someone else?
Madam Chair, that's the only person who had requested to comment on this particular topic.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We're a little ahead of schedule, but I want to stay true to getting back at 12:30, just so that we're not catching people off guard by trying to start any earlier. It's 11:12 right now, so enjoy a longer lunch recess and just be prepared to come back at 12:30. Make sure you turn off your mics, turn off your cameras, and we'll see you back this afternoon. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Oh, Heather's got a comment.
Madam Chair, I wanted to announce for anyone who is participating, and we are having several folks who are watching the YouTube stream, please note that what you need to do is go back and click the PM YouTube feed. That's for those who are not participating in the Zoom portion of the meeting, but who are just monitoring and watching the meeting. You need to click the afternoon, so the PM link to be able to come back on. Don't just leave your computer on and expect the YouTube to start up once we restart.
That's a good point. And we do that just to make these more manageable for people that want to watch them on YouTube later on. So we have a morning session and an afternoon. So that's a good point. Yes. Okay, everybody, we'll see you back at 12:30. Thank you.
Thank you.